The South African National Blood Service, I should say, is running critically low of stocks in the KwaZulu-Natal area and in other parts of South Africa. It says it's left with about just over 2 days, in fact, worth of blood supply at this stage. Let's talk more about the situation with Dr. Karin Van Den Berg, who's the medical director at the SANBS. Doctor, very good afternoon to you. Welcome to Daytime Update. Let's speak about KZN in particular, because you've got, about 1.1 days worth of blood stock, at least from what was being reported earlier today.
That is correct, yes. The situation in KwaZulu-Natal in terms of being able to provide sufficient blood is very dire. As I explained to another group earlier today, that it takes us about 2 days for the blood to be collected, tested, and distributed. So if we have only 1 day's blood supply, it means that we aren't actually able to get the blood to where it is needed on time. And, this is just compounding the horrible impact that this natural disaster has had on KwaZulu-Natal, and it is spilling over into the rest of the country at the moment.
Is this something that immediately impacts on patient care? Are there immediate implications?
Yes, unfortunately, as of yesterday afternoon, we had to implement what we refer to as restrictive issues, meaning that unless somebody is actually busy bleeding themselves to death, we are unable to supply all the blood that is being requested. So if a doctor maybe needed 2 or 3 units of blood, we would, if it's not a dire emergency, we would only be able to issue 1 or 2 units, which has an impact on the patient care, and is not ideal. And it often means that people have to stay in hospital longer, which has knock-on effects all over the place.
And when you say KZN is a major collection area in South Africa, what does that mean?
So KwaZulu-Natal generally is one of our top 3-4 areas from where we collect blood. And so, and ideally, one would like each area to be almost self-sufficient. KwaZulu-Natal in general struggles, in part because of the big rural distribution of the population. And so when we have a situation like this, it means that to make sure that we are equitable in how we distribute our blood, the KwaZulu-Natal is now not self-sustainable, and so we need to send blood from all over the country to KwaZulu-Natal, which then obviously has a knock-on impact on the rest of the country.
You touched on the issue of sending or moving blood, shall we say, between different parts of the country. How easy is that to do? And in KwaZulu-Natal, I'm thinking now in the context of damaged road infrastructure, some public hospitals, for example, also now having to assess what damage they've suffered on the back of the floods.
So it's not easy, but we, SANBS has a really big logistics network, and we have brilliant partners that assist us. So, even with the natural disaster, with the riots, we have found ways, very creative ways on occasion to get the blood to where it needs to go. But the bigger problem is that if we don't have enough blood, it doesn't matter how creative we are, we don't have blood to get there. So we are really urgently wanting to have anybody who hasn't donated blood before. So we're really looking for new blood donors. Also people who haven't donated recently, we are desperate for them to come and donate. And also then we're struggling to get places where people will allow us to host blood drives. So we're really trying to appeal to the corporates in South Africa to come forward and make available their premises to us so that we can host blood drives.
And would I be right to assume that part of the reason why you've seen a drop in, shall we say, the ease with which you were previously able to set up these blood donation drives may be linked directly to the lockdown? In fact, in corporate, many buildings have been vacant for much of the last 2 years.
That is exactly true. So not only have many of the buildings been empty, even where they are open, even for ourselves, our office-bound people come to the work 2 or 3 days a week. And so you don't have the same number of people at a given venue that you would have in the past. So in KwaZulu-Natal, it's all 3 things. Some of the venues have just closed down. The venues that are open, there are fewer people than there used to be. And then, of course, now with the disaster, It's just not possible for us in KwaZulu-Natal to go to the places that that have been booked for us to go to. So it's like the perfect storm that is brewing.
And when will you know if this latest donation drive is effective? Are you getting any positive reports so far from your centres?
So we've gone out on appeal over the last 24 hours. We are frantically making new plans. We've already been under strain because the demand on blood has been unbelievably high over the last couple of months. In part, I think, because of the hospitals now all being open. And so people are just this. We haven't seen a demand on blood the way we have seen over the last couple of months. We knew it would be like this, and we've been trying our best. But then you have, something like the natural disaster, and you have to then start all over again with your planning. So we are hoping to see an impact over the next 48 hours. Fortunately, from yesterday to today, our stocks have held steady. It hasn't dropped any further, so that is a small relief. But a 2.2-day supply still means we are not able to meet demand. So we're very hopeful that over the next 48, 72 hours, we will see some return on our appeal.
Dr. Karin Van Den Berg from the South African National Blood Service. Good to have your time. Thank you.